You're listening to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, episode number 194. Listen as I welcome back mom, wife, veteran, foodie, and blogger Carolyn Lee on how to have homeschool mom swag. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, where we gain inspiration and motivation from others who share their touching stories of renewing hope and discovering purpose in any circumstance. I'm your host, Christina Reisinger, and today we will be encouraged by another tremendously inspirational topic that will embolden you to release fear, begin taking small steps forward, and move into your God-given purpose to live and serve in this life. Join me for today's story. Hello, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Over the next couple of weeks, we are going to have something different and very special for you. I will be speaking with authors, bloggers, YouTubers, entrepreneurs, and all-around go-getters who all have one thing in common: homeschool. So whether you are a homeschool professional, just getting your feet wet in the homeschool world, or considering venturing into a whole new endeavor, these are the talks for you. Join my friends and I as we share the highs and some low moments, encouragement, perseverance, challenges, blessings, reasonings, priorities, how-tos, and yes, even some curriculum suggestions during this homeschool series. Let's listen. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Faith Breathed Hope Show. I am your host, Christina Reisinger, and I am back with Carolyn Lee today. How are you doing, Carolyn?
Hi, Christina. Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks again for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you again. Last week, we talked about unshakable swagger, having that confidence. But today, we are going to kind of elaborate that on a little bit and talk about unshakable swagger as a homeschool mom, how to have confidence being a homeschooling mom. But the first thing I want to ask you is, what is something that you believe about homeschooling that maybe not everybody else agrees with, or they would be surprised to know?
Well, so I'm gonna just talk about what I believed growing up about homeschool families and homeschool kids, and then just the difference now that I am a homeschool mom and we are homeschool family. So what I believed was that homeschool families were weird, that homeschool kids were weird. They were just awkward, and it's not because I knew any homeschool families. It's just because of what I've heard, what people said, and they'd be like, "Oh, you know that kid's homeschooled, and they're so weird, and kids are just so mean." But now that we are a homeschool family, I've realized, yes, we are weird, but it's not in a bad way. It's weird in a good way, because weird as in we're not put in a box. These kids are not put in a box. Kids nowadays in school, they expect to be a certain way. They expect to act a certain way, learn the same way, and just do their work the same way. And that's not how kids are supposed to be. Everybody's different. Even as adults, everybody's different. You're not supposed to be stuck in a cubicle all day. You're supposed to be enjoying life and being yourself. So I've learned that, my homeschool kids are weird. They learn a different way. You cannot put my kids in a box. You can't put me in a box. And yeah, and another misconception is that homeschool kids they're not socialized. You've met my kids, they're social butterflies. And yeah, they'll talk to anybody and everybody, which is kind of scary, but they've learned to talk in different environments.
Yes. Yes. So you can't put them in a box, and they're not little robots. We love that about our weird homeschooling families, right?
Yeah.
And they are taught, they are forced kind of to be put in spaces that they're uncomfortable with, so that they can meet new people, because they don't have that advantage if they're at home, like if they're truly at home with other classmates. So they have to go in above and beyond the sports team here, the dance team there, the gymnastics. I know you guys do that. And beyond that, they have to be put into spaces where they meet new people and they're able to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And we teach children
exactly.
to do that so that they can communicate with the world.
Hmm.
I think there's actually been studies that said that homeschool children are very sociable.
Yeah.
Because, I know we learn a lot about public speaking and just different things like that. So
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that. Today we're
Of
going to
course.
talk about the swag, which you identify as spiritual wisdom and God's grace, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So whether you are already in this homeschool space or you are kind of contemplating joining the homeschool space right now, you may have questions. You may have questions if you have been in this space for a couple of years, even. The confidence that you have to have as a homeschool mom uh, is something that you have to kind of earn. I guess you have to learn it, you have to earn it. uh, where is it, can you describe maybe some situations where a mom would not be a mom would not be confident as a homeschooler, where she has brought her children in? I know for us, we had our two of our kids, two out of three, go to public school for a
Hmm.
couple of years right before COVID. And then
Hmm.
after COVID, we decided to keep everybody at home. One of our children has never been to a public school. And
Well,
so there are parents that have their kids, this is what they've determined from day one, that they're going to keep their kids home. There have been other parents that have said, hey, for our family's sake, we are making this decision, but I really don't know what I'm doing. So can you define some situations that people may be a little uncomfortable with, moms and certainly dads as well, but probably a lot of the moms, we have mom friends that homeschool, uh, where they're not confident, but they need that confidence.
yeah. So when I first started, and it's kind of the same situation as you. We moved from Maryland, and my oldest, she was in kindergarten, and we moved right before COVID. So we arrived back in Jacksonville. When I say back, we were in Jacksonville and then went up to Maryland for 3 years and then came back. So we came back to Jacksonville New Year's Eve on 2019. And it was just a big change, big change for a 5-year-old. And COVID hit. And, she's in the middle of her second semester, brand new state, brand new city, brand new school, brand new teacher, brand new friends. COVID hit. Um, and we did the virtual. It was just a big change. It was a big difference, but the learning was different because their standards in Maryland are very different from Jacksonville. So I had to put Camille in a box, my oldest. I had to put her in a box and say, this is how you have to learn. It's not going to be the same. They have like the laptops, I forget what it's called, but they have to do classes online and then they get scored by their tests. And Camille, we don't do a lot of screen time at home. So she had to learn. She was just click happy and she got a low score. Camille's very bright. She's very intelligent. All my kids are. But after that, after doing that for the rest of kindergarten and then all of first grade and then second grade, it was 40 something kids, like 46 kids in one class. And the very first day I said, we're not doing this. We're
Mhm.
not. I never thought I'd be a homeschool mom, but I said, no, we're not. I can't do this this year. Because she would just sit there. She'd be done with her work within 10, 15 minutes and just sit there. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So I knew a few friends who were homeschool moms, and I reached out to them and I said, I don't know what to do. Help me. And
Mhm.
when I say I had no confidence, I had zero confidence. And what they told me was that number one, everything you learned about school, just erase it out your mind.
Mhm.
Um, it's a different learning environment. Don't try to repeat the same stuff that you learned in school. Like you're not going to have your kids sit for 8 hours doing schoolwork. You can get everything done in like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe even two if it's a hard lesson or a hard day. Um, and so I had to unlearn everything, just
Mhm.
as a mom and as their teacher now, because I don't have a degree in teaching. I'm not an educator, but now all of a sudden I am. So just knowing that you can go in and you can create something for your children and just being confident in knowing that, hey, they are going to learn something, whether it's you're reading and they're learning, how to sound vowels out and consonants out, or whether you're doing 1+1 and using M&Ms. I mean, it's still learning, whatever
Mhm.
you do. So just being confident in that. But yeah.
Yeah. We had a similar situation that you and I were talking about. And so coming home, and I was a public school teacher. Now
Mhm.
my
I didn't
areas,
know that.
so we're not academic, but areas
Okay.
were in the arts. So I
Okay.
taught dance, theater, and video production in the middle
Oh,
school.
okay.
And I did that for 7 years in North
Mhm.
Carolina. And then I became a mom and decided not to be, to get all the certifications that I needed here in Florida. But you're right. We do have to face this place where we're bringing in information. Now it's not even bringing in information to other kids, but you're bringing it into your kids. And so a lot of homeschool moms, I hear the same thing. They really are concerned about whether or not they're doing enough. And you
Yeah.
mentioned you don't do the same thing. And I made that mistake since I came from the public school system of
Mhm.
doing the 7, 8 hour school day. And the kids were extremely stressed out. I was extremely stressed out. And I found myself crying one day. This was the first year we started,
Mhm.
and was talking to somebody, and they're like, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, we do just like we're replicating school. And they're like, that's your problem because you're
Mhm.
doing it the way that you think it's supposed to be done according to the public school system. But we've been
Exactly.
blessed to have things in a way that we can tweak them for the learning levels of our own specific child. And
Yes.
that is something that maybe some people have a very difficult time wrapping their head around. And I know you mentioned forgetting all the things. So I think that's called unschooling, correct? Is that
Yes.
we never
Unschooling.
did that. We didn't go and forget everything because my brain is just academics, academics, academics.
Yeah.
But it is certainly something that you can have. You can afford the time to take
Yeah.
an hour or two to do academics. Then you can take an hour or two to do life skills. You
Mhm.
can work on gardening. You can take trips and travel and look at
Yeah.
cultural things around town. And not everybody has ability to do that. One of the other things that comes up, well, so let me back up. So community. So
Mhm.
we agree community is, but one of the things that you mentioned was asking for help. How
Yes.
important is it for you to have homeschool mom friends?
It's very important because if you don't ask for help, you don't know what other people have gone through. You don't know what they're going through. And, I've met so many homeschool moms and they're like, "Hey, what curriculum are you using for this, for
Yeah.
science?" And you're like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that." And so you just collaborate and it's like just you build that tribe. Like you bring everybody together and it's like one brain and you're like, "Oh, I can take a piece from here and a piece." And that's how I've learned. I learned that baking is science and math. I didn't even
Mhm.
think about that. And a life skill. And I'm like, oh, so we did our science lesson for the day. Gardening is environmental science. Like we grew butterflies. We always like put out like milkweed and all kinds of stuff for the pollinators. And then we learn about them, like the life cycle of a butterfly. You learn that in school, but you learn it on a piece of paper. You don't
Right.
really, you're not really hands-on. We do sea turtle patrol on the beach out here at Mayport, Naval Station Mayport, and we learn about the turtles coming in and what kind of turtles that we have, which ones are not necessarily going extinct, but they're what is the word? See, that's what happens when you don't talk to adults. um,
I'm sorry. So many people can totally relate to that. We need mommy friends, right?
I need that. Come on, tribe, help me. But there's different kind of sea turtles, and you learn that which ones need extra care, extra love and attention. And you learn that, the tracks of the sea turtle, how they lay their nest, what it looks like. And then you learn the ugly of it, like when the nest has when the eggs have hatched and the sea turtles come out. And when you do the inventory of the eggs, like you can see which one's a pip. I've never knew what a pip was. It's where um it hasn't hatched or it hasn't fully developed. And so you have like this rotting smelling egg, if you can have, yeah, if you want a description, but or you have baby sea turtles who couldn't make it out of the nest and they
Mhm.
end up dying there. So it's just so much stuff that you learn, and it's not like everything's a learning experience. And so that's what I had to learn, that
Mhm.
everything you do is a learning experience. You can be in your pajamas all day and we can do science projects at the table. And it's just a beautiful thing because there's no set, it's structured, but it's not structured.
Oh, yes. I love that. Everything is a learning experience. I cannot tell you how many times my kids said, "Oh, man, Mom, does everything have to be school?" Well, yes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
If you want to call it school, I mean, we can call it school, but everything is
Yeah.
about learning.
Yep.
Everything is about finding out new information,
Mhm.
gaining wisdom from that, and trying to
Yes.
put it into action. So,
Mhm.
on the side note, I want to say, the sea turtle thing is very interesting. So I want to talk to Carolyn and see if we can't maybe put a link and how to get involved if you're in the Jacksonville area, because I
Yeah,
think it's really
definitely.
exciting. And maybe we can make a list of resources or something. So this is going to be an entire series, and maybe we can come up with those resources to help you guys out. Another thing that you mentioned was curriculum, and I know that's something that homeschool parents, moms, fret about. So
Mhm.
I am probably a repeat offender on this one, whereas I find things that I love in the curriculum that I like, the things that I want to teach the kids. But then I have this, I don't want to say addiction, but it's this really large need to, great need to bring in books.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
don't know if anybody out there can stand with me on this, but I want to bring in books to teach everything. And there seems to not be enough time to
Yeah.
cover all of the things that I possibly want to cover, nor are my kids, always interested in the things that I want to learn and want to learn with them.
Yeah.
But can you speak to a little bit of the curriculum? We indicated that that comes with community where you can share things. Is there anything that can give a parent a peace of mind about what they're choosing? Because again, I think that parents are always like, "Am I teaching my kid enough? Is it going to be
Yeah.
enough?"
Yeah. So honestly, I think it's trial and error. You have to figure out what works best for your family. The past few years, we use something called the relaxed homeschool, where the worksheets, I received like the digital copy of it, and then I sent it off to the printers, and they just printed it, and I created workbooks for them. And that worked for a while. Now my kids are a little bit older and we need something a little bit more hands-on. And it is a technology age. And we try not to give a lot of screen time, but I feel like it's necessary because kids need to learn about computers regardless, because it is a technology age.
Mhm.
So we're doing some stuff on the computer, out school, time for learning. Epic Books is really, really good. Kinsley, my middle child, she was not an avid reader. She did not want to learn read. She was like, no, I don't like it. But now she loves it. Epic Books is really, really good. That's a and this is a plug, and I'm not getting any money for this, so this is
Yeah,
just
we're not getting anything for all this.
no, Epic Books is really awesome because the kids can read a book out loud and record it, and they can listen to themselves read, so they know how they're reading. So whether they need to like
Oh,
speed up their
yes.
pace, or because this is how they're reading in their heads too.
Okay.
They can have the book read to them, or there's also videos where they can watch, and the book is just it's just like a recording
Mhm.
and somebody whoever is narrating it. And I
Mhm.
like it because you can do reading comprehension. You can make your child take the test at the end. That way you know that your child is understanding. So
Mhm.
there's different kinds of curriculums. And there's ones that are have like the biblical principle. There's ones that have secular. We do a little bit of both because I like to sit and talk with my kids and say, hey, this is what we're reading about in the Bible. Let's talk about it together. So we do that together as a family. Um, but honestly, it's just trial and error. Um,
Mhm.
talk to other homeschool moms and see what works for them, and just understand that what works for one family may not work for you, or what works for one child may not work for another child.
Right.
So it's just trial and error. And there's a lot of free resources out there, and I'll give you some links for that too, Christina.
Okay.
There's a lot of free resources. There's a lot of resources where they'll send you free samples of a lesson, and you can just try it and see what you like. Um, but trial and error, and just
Yes.
talk to your community, talk to your tribe about it.
Mhm. one of the things that I don't think we use anything that you named. Like,
Yeah.
we've used easy peasy curriculum for many
Mhm.
years, and I think that my kids are starting to outgrow that. We have a co-op that we are involved with as well, and
Mhm.
so we require at a certain age group, they require certain type of curriculum.
Mhm.
One of the things that I have found invaluable for writing is IEW. I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys done that or not, but it's phenomenal. Again, I don't get paid for any of this either. It's just
Yeah.
something we have learned to love over the years. And um, we do the classical method. So there's another thing too. There are several different methods
Yeah.
learning. And so some people do Charlotte Mason, people do classical learning,
Mhm.
traditional, I don't know, eclectic, where you
There's
piece
so many
all things
Montessori,
together.
Waldorf. There's so many. It's just
Yeah,
what works for your family,
it
honestly.
is. And it can get really overwhelming. So
Mhm.
the piece that I want to tie here into like the swag piece, the piece where um we have spiritual wisdom and God's grace is how do we turn to the Lord in knowing how we teach our children, how knowing that they're going to be okay, knowing that what we have provided as parents who desperately want to pour into our children and have them
Yeah.
excel. How do we approach God in having his wisdom and having his grace?
So I feel like first things first is, asking God to help you with grace. Giving yourself grace is a big thing.
Mhm.
Because you're not perfect. The only person who's perfect is God and Jesus. And um knowing that when you do something that's out of the sorts, God's gonna, you're already forgiven and you have that grace. And it's the same thing. You give yourself that grace and you teach your kids, hey, it's not gonna be perfect. Like we're learning this together. This is
Mhm.
a whole huge adventure that we're going on right now. And I may not get it right. You may not get it right. But guess what? Give yourself grace and just pray about it. Like we would just, like the girls and I, we would, first thing first, we would pray and say, hey, God, let this be a great learning experience. If we have any issues, let's communicate them. And that's the biggest thing is communication because your kids may see that you're frustrated and they may not come to you and say, hey, mom, I don't understand this, or I don't want to do it this way, or this isn't fun. Like that's my Kinsley's, this is not fun. This is so boring. And so we had that second child syndrome, the middle child syndrome. Um, but just giving yourself grace, and praying together. I think that's a big thing. And
Yes.
telling your kids that it's okay. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to have days where you just want to sit and not do anything. That's okay because as adults we have those days.
Mhm.
It's okay to want to be in your PJs and do your schoolwork or not do it at the desk, do it on the floor or do it outside at a playground.
Mhm.
And you know, I think as a homeschool family, you have that opportunity. You can do it anywhere. That's the beauty of it.
Mhm.
We've done homeschool at doctor's appointments. We've
In the
yes, we've done
car.
yeah, in the car, we've done it everywhere.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of it. And just knowing that you're not going to get it right and giving yourself grace and asking God for forgiveness because you are going to have those days where you, as a parent, are going to be like, what did I tell you to do?
Mhm.
And then you have to go back and ask your children for forgiveness because you snapped at
Absolutely.
them.
Absolutely. And I love that you say all these things, this piece where, hey, I'm human and things happen. I get upset, and this
Mhm.
idea of being able to communicate with your kids saying, hey, it happens, it's not
Yeah.
right. But
Mhm.
we go to God and we ask the Lord for forgiveness and what we do, and we ask him for our help to endure. One of the things that we talk a lot about in our family is perseverance.
Mhm.
You can look at perseverance as far as like, oh, I have been through this huge trial and I have to get through it. I used to talk about it a lot as going through grief and loss, but
Mhm.
it really is meant for everything. And it is God's gift to us. Like he
Yeah.
wants us to persevere. And then it is our job to teach our children to persevere. So
Yes.
say, hey, like you said, today was not a great day.
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean all the days have to be bad. That doesn't mean, or maybe this moment wasn't a good moment, but that doesn't mean it has to affect the rest of the day.
Mhm.
Um, you mentioned that they don't have to be perfect.
No.
So today's society, maybe always, there's certain personalities, there's certain situations where we strive for perfection. Our
Mhm.
kids put so much pressure on themselves, parents put so much pressure on their kids
Yeah.
that it causes a lot of anxiety and depression and
Mhm.
all this mental health. And I wasn't going to go down here, but this is important because we hear
Yeah.
about it all the time. We hear about it in the news. We hear about friends, sharing things because we need to share. We're with our
Mhm.
kids as homeschool parents 24/7 most of the
Yeah.
time. And it's real. And so this idea that, hey, you know what? I love you and you don't have to be perfect, but you should strive for excellence. So can
Yes.
you talk about the difference of assuring a child that they don't have to be perfect, but then how they should also strive for excellence?
So what I always tell my girls in anything that they do is do your best. Do your best. You shoot for the moon, and if you reach the stars, hey, you're still there. You're still up there. It's still great. And not to settle, you know. If you don't do something perfect the first time, then that's okay. You understand what you did wrong. Or if you don't understand, let's do it again and we'll figure it out. And then let's try it again. And we don't have to try it right now because if they're frustrated, hey, we can take a break. Um, I feel like in today's society, it's harder for kids because they have that social media and they see things on TV and they see their friends who follow social media. Like my girls, they don't have Instagram, they don't have Facebook, they're not going to get any of that stuff till they're 55. So, um, but they have friends who have that stuff and they see all that stuff. They see the stuff on YouTube
Mm,
and I tell them that's not real. It's not
mhm.
real. I don't want you to strive to be like that. Camille is in competitive gymnastics, and she's like, one day she said, I want to be like Simone Biles. I said, no, you need to be like Camille Lee, and you do your best. And if you're better than Simone Biles, and you're better. If you're not, that's okay. Hey, if you happen to go to the Olympics, you go to the Olympics. If you just go to the Junior Olympics, hey, you went to the Junior Olympics. Not many people can say that. So that's the biggest thing. Just shoot for the moon. And if you reach the stars, if you should get to the moon, hey, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's fantastic. If you get to the stars, that's awesome. That's still amazing and that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Just do your best and know that nobody's perfect.
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of people put undue stress and pressure on themselves and their children, or the children do that. And it's such a good, it's such a good thing to think about in your mind. Just something to put into your mind, your mindset is that you should just do your best, compete with your,
Yes.
don't
Hmm.
don't compete with other people, compete with who you are and what you can do
Hmm.
and your abilities. And if you did great yesterday, but today you had a bad day, that doesn't mean you're a failure. You're only
Exactly.
a failure if you quit. So you
Hmm.
say, okay, today was stinky and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to continue to do it like this. And there are
Yeah.
going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. Of course, that does not give you an excuse for laziness.
Mhm. Yeah.
We should try to achieve excellence, but then find a place that you can say that you give yourself that grace. I love that.
Yeah.
um, I want to go back to a couple of things. One of the things that you had said was that your reading curriculum allowed the kids to record themselves so that they could hear how they spoke back.
Mhm.
I'm a huge advocate of reading aloud, even
Yeah.
for older children, because it helps with public speaking and it helps with
Yes.
confidence levels. And they can hear their own voice. They can learn enunciation and projection and things like that that they are going to have when they address an audience. And I know a
Hmm.
lot of homeschoolers that's one thing that's part of all the curriculum is not only do we read and that we write papers, but we learn to speak those and read
Yes.
those in front of an audience to help us with our communication levels. Um, if a parent maybe has trouble with I guess maybe they're shy.
Mhm.
Maybe they've had trouble with public speaking, or maybe they are not the biggest social butterfly in the group. How can they stand behind their children and say, hey, you know, this is something that is good for you to
Mhm.
be able to communicate with others, to be able to speak out loud, and to say, in a world of, like you said, the internet and social media, maybe not like divulge and purge all of your dirty laundry, as a
Yeah.
lot of people tend to do, but be able to eloquently state your case on a situation. How can we learn to do that and to encourage, maybe even to teach ourselves a little bit how to be bold and confident in such things?
So I think something like that is it's hard. It's hard to step out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Um Sometimes, especially when you have kids and you want them to encourage them to make friends. You know, kids when they're little, they learn to play with themselves, they learn to play with their parents, they learn to play with their siblings, but nobody else. So I think maybe taking them one on one and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do today, and encourage them to do something that's completely out of their comfort zone.
Mhm.
And if that doesn't work, then you show them that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and do something that's just totally not,
Learn. Mhm.
yeah, just something that's out of the norm for you. Just do it. Um,
Yes.
you know,
Just do
yeah,
it.
just do it. Like be like
Love
Nike.
it.
Sometimes you have to just stand on that edge and just leap, because you are number one, you're your child's advocate. You're their role model. You're their superhero.
Mhm.
You're everything to them. And so when they see you doing it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I can do that too."
Mhm.
Think of it as jumping into the pool, but you're jumping into the deep end. And you know your child can swim, but they're scared to jump into the deep end. Are you going to just take them in and throw them in there? No, you're not. Unless you're like my parents and you just do that, but you traumatize your kids. But you jump in, you say, hey, it's okay. You know, I know it's hard and I know it's a little deep, but you can do it. Come, jump to me, I'll catch you. And
Mhm.
actually saying, I'll catch you and being there to catch them.
Mhm.
So putting your child in a situation where it's out of their norm, but also being there if they need to fall back to you,
Mhm.
knowing that you're there. I think that's the biggest thing. Just step out of your comfort zone and then show your children that you can do it and that they can do it.
Right. Aren't these things that the Lord offers to us, like this
Mhm.
encouragement and then the stability that He says, hey, you go do it, test me, try me,
Mhm.
trust me. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah.
So as parents, we get to pour into our children the things that the Lord is pouring into us. Um, so back to the curriculum, a lot of we're talking about, you said you did Christian curriculum and secular curriculum. I know a lot of the Christian space in homeschooling, we teach Bible. And I just wanted to say this and see where you are with this, because there are different Bible curriculums. I realize
Yeah.
that. But if you sit down with your kids and you just read scripture, it's just a wonderful thing. Even and it's free. Well, I guess the Bible's not free, but I mean it's low cost, I suppose. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but are there any Bible curriculums or any way that you particularly share in your home, or you would encourage other people to use?
Yeah. So actually you can't get a Bible for free. You can go to any church and say, hey, I need a Bible. You can get one for free. Veggie Tales is a good one. If your kids like cartoons and your kids are on the younger side, Veggie Tales is really because it teaches everything. Um, we like The Good and the Beautiful. That's another good one. And also you can also get a kid's Bible.
Mhm.
Um, and it just talks like the Bible story. It's not necessarily it has maybe has like one or two scriptures, but it tells a story like in story form.
Mhm.
Um, just the different stories of the Bible. My mom had bought when Camille was a baby, she had bought this huge series of just Bible stories for kids, and it starts from Genesis, like just from the very beginning and ends in Revelations, and it tells us about like your life and how you can apply it to your life. And so we started doing that in the very beginning. And so the girls, received their own Bibles and got baptized. And, now with our church community, we get a lot of resources from them as well. Because there's all the questions, kids are very inquisitive.
Yes.
And I encourage my girls to use their voice and ask questions, ask the hard questions. Because somebody else might be thinking it but too scared to ask or too
Hmm.
nervous to ask.
Hmm.
So I encourage them to ask the hard questions. And my pastor and our kids minister, they're very open, and I can call or text them anytime and they'll answer any questions. So, but we just try to build in any kind of biblical principles, and we pray together, and you know yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything that happens, we see an accident driving and the girls are like, Mom, can I pray for them? Because I hope nobody got hurt.
Oh,
So
I
just try
love
to
it.
incorporate it in all of our lifestyle.
So teach them to pray. And,
Mhm.
I think that we sometimes, you said, ask the hard questions. So we
Mhm.
get to a place, and this can be a confidence thing too, where we get to a place as homeschool parents where your kid asks you a question that you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, and you can tell me what your reaction is when your kids do this, but I just say, okay, let's look it up. So I say,
Mhm.
it's not something that I already know, but
Mhm.
let's look it up. Or I believe it's this, but let's double check to make sure that I'm right.
Yes.
Um, is that how you guys do it? It
Yeah,
gives you
that's exactly.
the
Yeah, I say let's look it up, and or if I know the answer but I want them to find it for themselves, I say go look it up. Go look it up and then come back and let me know, and then we'll talk about it together. But if I don't know the answer, I will tell them, mommy doesn't know everything. I say I
Mhm.
know everything, but I don't know everything.
Well, I know it's sometimes really hard to admit that you don't know
Yeah.
the answer. And when I was teaching, I remember some of the teachers would be like, don't ever let the kids know that you don't know
Yeah.
the answer. And I thought,
No.
well, I think differently on this, I think
Yeah.
you should be, you should admit that you are not in the place to know everything,
Yeah.
but you are in the place to learn everything.
Yes.
Whatever there is, you can try to figure out and problem solve. So,
Yes.
I have one other question before you tell everybody again where to find you. But how can we pray this swag over our very impressionable children? Because children are so impressionable. They meet other people, they're home alone with us, and then they go out and meet people. And it's like this idea of, oh my goodness, there's other opinions in the world.
Yeah.
How can we pray this confidence, this wisdom, this grace over our children?
So, the Bible says train up a child in a way they should go, and when they get older, they won't turn from it. Um, I feel like you're not going to get it right all the time.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like telling your children that, hey, I may not get it right all the time is a big thing. Praying with your children is important, and praying over your children is important. You know, even when they're not looking, even when they're off in their dance class or gymnastics, or even when they're asleep, pray over your children, because the
Mhm.
enemy is doing some works. The enemy does not. Even this recording, like we've had to stop and press record so many times because, you know, Zoom decided to update. There's network issues. Just the enemy is out there, and he is mad. He is angry that, we're talking about these things, and we're trying to do big things and do God's work.
Mhm.
Pray for your children, pray with your children, pray with your family, your entire family, and know that um, you have a manual. Your kids don't come with a manual, but there is a manual. It's the Bible.
Mhm.
Um, ask God to give you the guidance, and it may not be what exact the plan that you have, but God's plan is always there. Like He knows what happened in the past. He knows what's going on right now. He knows what's going to happen in the future. So just ask God to open your eyes and let you see, what's going to happen, or, what his plan is, or just give you a glimpse of something. Um, and know that you have his grace.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, you're not going to get it right. Your kids aren't going to get it right. Just know that God's grace is there, and it's there for a reason. Give yourself grace.
Mhm.
Pray over yourself too. Pray that you have the wisdom to make it through one day, because there are some days where it's going to be trying. The dog's not going to act right. Your spouse isn't going to act right. You're not going to act right. You're not going to be in that good mental space. Your kids are going to be all over the place, and you're going to be so frustrated to where you just want to go into your closet and cry. And when I say you, I mean me. I've had plenty of those days.
Oh,
But knowing that you persevered, like you said, we made it through the day. Tomorrow is a new day. That's why I always tell the girls, when we have bad days, tomorrow's a new day. Let's
yes.
go to sleep. Let's thank God that we had bad days. Let's think. And Kinsey doesn't understand when I say that. Um, thank God that you have a bad day. She's like, why do you say that, Mom? Why am I going to thank him for bad days? Because you know what a bad day looks like, and you know what a good day is. You can appreciate the good days more.
Yeah.
Um, so just know that you have God's wisdom, you have His grace, and
Mm,
you have that manual to go to.
absolutely. And knowing that you have the bad days also provides opportunity to talk about growth and
Yes,
perseverance again. So,
yes.
yeah, and another thing, we can stay humble.
Mm,
We are people who stay humble in the questions that our children ask, and when we find out that we don't know all the answers. But I love
mhm,
the fact that you said to pray with and for and over your children, because you're
mhm,
modeling. Of course, they may not know what the prayers that you pray in the secret room, and that's okay, because the Lord tells us to do that as well.
mhm,
But they do know the prayers that you pray with them and
mhm,
over them. And so you're modeling, and then they're going to do likewise. Yesterday, we came home, and my daughter, Elise, she had a dance class.
mhm.
And we came home and we were eating dinner. So we prayed, and we asked her to pray. We take turns praying. And she thanked God for being able to go to dance. And I thought, that's
Oh,
that's the first time she's ever done that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
I love
It
that.
wasn't her regular dance class. So it was, pretty nice to see them when they come out, and they'll surprise you every once in a while, and you'll
Mhm.
stop and say, hey, I think I am doing something right.
Yeah.
I can see God in all this, and
Mhm.
that hope. And there are, like you said, there are going to be those days that you're frustrated, those moments that it, even a good homeschool family probably has moments where they say, oh, maybe we need to go back to school, kind of thing. We need to
Yeah.
do something
Well,
different.
yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of those
but
moments.
but you know what? You
It's just
just you
cool.
stick to it, right? Do I?
I will send you to school.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna make this decision, and we're gonna look at schools, we've got to fix this. But no, it's about persevering. It's about staying humble. It's about having that wisdom and giving
Yeah,
yourself and them grace, and having that confidence to just continue on. You have that hope through that confidence, and you just know that God is with you every step. If He's called you to it, then He's going to help you through it.
exactly. I love that.
So, Carolyn, can you again tell everybody here on Faith Based Hope where to find you?
You can find me. My website is carolynconfidentlee.com. And I do have an Instagram page, and I'll send you that link, and as well as a Facebook page. And it's just, I always do motivational stuff. I give a little bit information about myself, which is me stepping out of my comfort zone, because I don't talk about myself a lot. But I just hope to inspire, people. I just go through life, and sometimes you need to have that tribe, and I try to be that tribe for other people.
That's great. I love it. You're that tribe for me for sure.
No,
And
thank you. Same.
I know that everybody needs to know that they're not alone. So,
Exactly.
thank you for joining me again. And
Thank you for having me.
thank you, everyone out there, for listening. Continue to be blessed and bless others. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
The 2024-2025 school year is just around the corner. I want to tell you about a brand new art enrichment program in Jacksonville, Florida for homeschool students ages 5 to 14 called CFlex Academy. The Arts Enrichment Program at CFlex Academy provides a creative and fun learning experience as students explore and hone their skills in performing and visual arts. Their core value system is rooted in biblical principles and the belief that through passion, inspiration, hard work, integrity, and perseverance, Creative ideas become successful growth opportunities that enhance technique, a love for the arts, and leadership skills. CFlex Academy strives to inspire your student to develop a great love for dance, theater, music, and visual art that will serve them in other aspects of life. Registration is now open. You can go to the show notes, click the link, and register today. And I want to thank you for joining us on Faith Breathed Hope, where you gain inspiration and motivation to renew hope and discover purpose in any circumstance. Please like and share this podcast and give us a review on iTunes. Be blessed.